Hello, everybody. All right, welcome to the Mikestand. Today is, of course, Wednesday, um, April the 16th, 2025. Of course, that means, of course, it's Hump Day. The third Hump Day of the month here. As we are, of course, give people a chance to come in before we get started. So, of course, as always, a friendly reminder, if you guys haven't already, if you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people in here to engage, that'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. Anyways, um, so did what got started on some cartoons from um July of 1936 today, including Little Cheeser from as part of the Happy Harmony series from MGM prior to, of course, Tom and Jerry. Um, Betty Boop and Pudgy, in the You're Not Built That Way, talking about how Pudgy was trying to emulate a bulldog, but to some comedic results, of course. So Porky's Pet trying to smuggle a ostrich onto a train to get to New York City to become part of a show that he and his ostrich going to perform in. So quite a bit of stuff going on in July of 1936, as it were. Um, Anyways, let's see now. 2.5 minutes, so we're getting close to the 3 minute mark here. All right. With all that being done, and let me just go check some things real quick, and then I will go ahead and get ready to get started here. Just let me go check a couple of things real quick here. La 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 la. La 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 la. Anyways, all right. Now with all that being done and said, let's see. Let's see. All right, so we're past the 3 minute mark now. So with that, let's go ahead and get started on one last friendly reminder before I get into the talk about if you guys can help out by liking and sharing the screen, see if we can get some more friendly people to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. With that being said, let's talk about what's on tap for tonight. I'm gonna go over a couple articles from Bounding into Comics. One of them is in regards to Netflix's live action adaptation of Avatar: The Last Airbender, which they're saying will feature a slightly more feminine Toph than animated original. And then Trails in the Sky remake confirms new English localization. So, with all that being done and said, why don't we go ahead and get ourselves started here? And then, of course, we'll also be we'll have the wrestling wrap up. Look back to last night's NXT. The go home NXT before Stand and Deliver on Saturday, before the WrestleMania pay per view. We'll also look ahead to tonight's AEW Dynamite. So, oh, with all, and then of course we'll wrap things up with this day in niche history as well. So, with all that being said, let's go ahead and get started here. You can find the cursor. There it is. Get to the right thing here. All right, so here we go. Here's the first article we're going to go over tonight. Netflix's Avatar: The Last Airbender to feature slightly more feminine Toph than animated original. Article by Spencer McCauley, published yesterday, April 15, 2025. So, let's see what's going on here. So, Toph, who I guess was voiced in the anime, in the cartoon by Michaela Jill Murphy. She's a makeover in Avatar Book 2, Episode 15, The Tales of Ba Sing Se, Nickelodeon. So, in confirming yet more changes are on the way for the Gong's live action adaptation, upcoming Avatar: The Last Airbender cast member Mia Ketch or Chech, Ketch, I guess, has revealed that per Netflix's direction, her portrayal of the blind earthbender, Toph, will be quote, slightly more feminine, unquote, than her animated counterpart. Ketch, whose notable television credits include lead roles on such young adult-oriented series as Nickelodeon's The Astronauts and Apple TV's Surfside Girls, provided this insight into Toph's live-action character while speaking to the Direct on the red carpet for Marshmallow, a new horror outing from the director behind the animated Tales of the Black Freighter short, made in promotion of Zack Snyder's 2009 Watchmen film, Daniel del Purgatorio, in which she stars as one of its leads. Yeah, I guess there's more of the animated. Toph awakens in Avatar: Last Airbender, Book 2, Episode 15, Tales of Ba Sing Se. Pressed by the outlet as to what changes, if any, had been made to the fan favorite Earthbender in her jump to live action, Ketch detailed, quote, "My version of Toph is going to be a little older and slightly more feminine. I feel like I wanted to work into a very humanizing space for her because, she was a cartoon," unquote. Ostensibly seeking to offer fans some level of reassurance regarding her performance, the actress further noted, quote, "I have met Michaela, in brackets Jill Murphy, who plays the voice of Toph, in brackets in the original animated series, and I feel like we have both a very similar take in terms of process." Here's Toph. Toph takes pleasure in raining lava rocks down on Aang, voiced by Zach Tyler Eisen, as part of his training in Avatar: The Last Airbender, Book 3, Episode 18, Zozin's Comet, Part 1, The Phoenix King. Notably, while Ketch's interview marks the first ever mention of Netflix's intention of making the young Earthbender more "quote unquote" feminine. That she would be aged up. I don't know if a fly's getting near me or what, but something was just. Anyways, that she would be slightly aged up. Um, Aged up in live action has previously been confirmed, and by her actress no less. Speaking to Pacific Rim Video Press regarding her upcoming role as Toph, ahead of the 2024 Unforgettable Gala, an annual award ceremony meant to quote honor the biggest names of the in brackets Asian and Pacific Islander unbracketed community unquote. The actress detailed, quote, she's a little bit older, so she's not a little kid anymore, unquote. Quote, she is still that same Spitfire spunky character who gets a call, a who gets to call a certain character Twinkle Toes, in smaller quotes there. She added, quote, I think there are going to be a lot of things that the fans are going to remember from the animated series, and a lot of things that are brand new, unquote. Oh, there's, I guess, Maya Ketch right there. To this end, Netflix's Avatar: The Last Airbender executive producer Jabbar Raisani did tell the Direct at the 2024 Palais Fest TV Media Festival that in terms of Toad's character, quote, we really rely on the animated series. So I think you're going to see a lot of the dynamics that were true in the animated series come through in live action. It won't be a 1-to-1. You can never do a 1-to-1, but you know, expect the feeling all over again. Expect that feeling all over again. Unquote. However, given how the series has handled its source material so far, um, from completely wrecking the character of King Bumi to changing Aang's acceptance of his role as the Avatar, from a gradual lesson he learns by interacting with the world's citizens to a, in smaller quotes, sudden realization, he has, after being given a vision of the Fire Nation's impending attack on the Northern Water Tribe, fans would do well to put as little stock as possible um, in Raisani's promises. And I just added the in part there just due to the fact. Ultimately, just how Netflix will handle the Toph's transformation from defiant tomboy to outwardly feminine remains to be seen when the live action Avatar: The Last Airbender returns to its second season on a yet to be announced date. All right. So there we go with that one. So that one kind of went a bit quickly there. Again, as always, guys, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. Also, guys, haven't had a chance yet, you haven't already, if you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people in here to engage. That'd be appreciated. Now, getting ready to move on to the next article here. Let's see. 15, 20. So let's see how quickly we get through this one here. Trails in the Sky remake confirms new English localization, promises, quote, an authentic experience that honors the original Japanese text. All right. Wonder what that's all about. So, article by Spencer McCauley published earlier today. All right. So, every so often, a bit of welcome news peeks through absolute bleak storm. That is the English to Japanese media translation scene. And in the latest case of this rare phenomenon, it has been confirmed that the long-awaited Trails in the Sky first chapter remake be releasing in Western markets, well, with a brand new and far more faithful localization. Let's see, Estella, who was voiced in Japanese by Tomoyo Takayanagi, readies her next attack in Trails. So I'm wondering if this is more of a. I thought this is kind of a. Let me just see something here real quick. This is a video. So in a rare occasion here, because it said English localization, I decided to do this article. This is more of a video game article, I guess. Usually I don't do video games as much, but since they were talking about English localization, of course, um, that's why I decided to do it. So continuing on here, the first official, in parentheses, and eponymous, parentheses there, entry in the Trail subseries of Nihon Falcom's larger The Legend of Heroes turn-based RPG franchise, Trails in the Sky introduces players to the fictional country of Liberl and puts them in the shoes of Estella and Joshua Bright, adopted siblings who in seeking to become part of the kingdom's peacekeeping forces, uncover a secret plot filled with betrayal, lies, and secret societies that stands to tear entire society into chaos. Debuting in Japan in 2004, the game would eventually be licensed for an English language release by US-based publisher Xseed Games in 2010, but would ultimately not hit either North America or Europe until 2011 due to not only the absolutely massive task of localizing its reportedly 1.5 million Japanese character long script, but also the company's decision to assign the job to a jaw-droppingly small team consisting of just one lead localizer and a temporary support roster of one editor and 3 translators. Quote, "It's long," unquote, said lead Xseed localizer Jessica Chavez of her work on the game. Quote, "It's so long that many companies have avoided localizing it for years." In parentheses here, the body count has always been off-putting for some reason, unparenthesed. Conflicting reports put the total game text at somewhere around 1.5 million Japanese characters, but all, quote, I know, quote unquote, I know for certain is that I worked from home 11 to 14 hours a day, 6 days a week, lost 7 pounds, cut off 18 inches of my hair, and used the XC Twitter account to further the cause of bacon on more than one occasion. Oh boy, okay. Unquote. Uh, Quote, in the end, we had to employ a total of 3 translators, one and a quarter editors, in parentheses, myself and Tom had to jump in the last month to help me myself and Tom had to jump in okay, one and a quarter. Tom had to jump in the last month to help me finish chapter 4, and one or two other helpful Shorano Kiseki, literally translated trails in the sky, in brackets there, experts that didn't mind spontaneous instant messages asking about whether or not certain characters would be at home, saying things like, quote, in smaller quote, lo, I am hoist with my own petard, un, smaller quote, unquote. She added, quote, I believe all the translators survived most intact, and Tom reports cheerfully from my left as I type this that he sort of misses uh, TITS. I guess trails in the sky. Um, oh boy. And also thinks he has Stockholm syndrome. Our manager, on the other hand, does this kind of thing all the time and just laughs at our weakness. Unquote. All right. Hey, Picioso. Thanks for dropping in. As always, if you can help out by liking and sharing the stream so we can get some more friendly people in here, that'd be appreciated. Also, if anything grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So, anyways, as we continue on with the article here, as a result, the original English script for The Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky, while admirably done and commendable in its accomplishment, reeked of rushed deadlines and in smaller quotes personal touches, all of which ultimately resulted in the localization receiving a less than favorable reception from the series fan base. Thankfully, for those disappointed fans, alongside a rebuilding in Nihon Falcom's prosperity, Trails Trails Through Daybreak engine, as originally developed in 2022 for use with the 11th mainline Trails series game, from which it takes its name. The ability to switch between a new real-time combat system and a more traditional turn-based one, and the addition of voice acting. The upcoming Trails in the Sky First Chapter remake will also see the game's North American publisher Gung Ho Online Entertainment America Goa going the extra mile and commissioning a brand new, supposedly more accurate localization. teasing the game's contents in an April 15th press release, announcing the opening of the game's pre-order window. The publisher revealed, quote, Trails in the Sky first chapter features a new localization ensuring an authentic and engaging experience that honors the original Japanese text. Fans can look forward to experiencing classic moments with dialogue that captures both the heart and charm of the Trail series in English, German, French, or Spanish. For those who prefer the Japanese audio, a Japanese voice option will also be available, giving players the freedom to choose how they want to experience the game. For both longtime fans of the series and those looking to finally take the dive into its admittingly intimidating canon, Trails in the Sky, first chapter, is set for release for the Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 5, and PC platforms via Steam sometime later this fall. As noted by Goa, pre-orders of the game's physical standard edition, $60 US dollars, are now live at most major retailers, while the digital Steam release is set to go live as soon as it launches. Hey, Rick. Meanwhile, Trails in the Sky first chapter will also be receiving a yet-to-be-detailed collector's edition from Limited Run Games, who longtime readers of BIC may best know as the boutique video game publisher that fired a community manager in response to pearl-clutching outrage over her following of right-wing media figures on social media. All right, so with that, that's all we have for the articles tonight. That's all we have for the articles tonight, as it were. So now what we'll do is we'll, of course, move on to the wrestling wrap-up. As we're going to first off go back to last night's NXT, as it's the go-home NXT before for this weekend's Stand and Deliver pay-per-view. Stand and Deliver pay-per-view. Heading into this Saturday, of course, this Saturday's WrestleMania weekend. Of course, NXT will have their Stand and Deliver pay-per-view. WWE will have WrestleMania both nights, of course. So on last night's episode of NXT from the Performance Center in Orlando, Florida, with, of course, Booker T, Corey Graves, Big Joseph, and Ricky Saints on commentary. Ricky Saints would be more on commentary for the North American title Fatal 4-Way or number one contendership gauntlet match. Of course, the show opened up with the number one contendership Fatal 4-Way to see who would challenge Ricky Saints at Stand and Deliver, I believe. Ethan Page, of course, defeated Eddie Thorpe, Lexus King, the Heritage Cup champion, and Wes Lee to gain that shot. In another qualifying match for the women's North American title match coming up at Stand and Deliver, Lola Vice defeated Tatum Paxley to qualify for that match. In a number one contendership gauntlet match for the WNXT tag team titles, Hank and Tank outlasted Josh Briggs and Yoshiki Inamura, the No Quarter Catcher duo of Miles Bourne and Tavian Heights, the Culling duo of Brooks Jensen, Nico Vance, and Tyson DuPont, Tyreek Eway as well. So, and then in the other women's qualifying match for the women's North American title, Thea Hall defeated Carmen Petrovich for that match. And now, as I said, this was go home NXT before this weekend Stand and Deliver. So let's take a look now at the updated card for that coming up this weekend. So on of course the main show coming from the T-Mobile Arena in Paradise, Nevada, this Saturday. The new WWE NXT Women's North American Championship will be crowned in a ladder match, as now all members of that ladder match, all 6 members of that ladder match have now qualified. Izzy Dane, Zarya, Thea Hall, Sol Ruka, Lola Vice, and Kalani Jordan. Ethan Page won the right to challenge Ricky Saints at Stand and Deliver for the NXT title. Fraxium will be defending the NXT tag team titles against Hank and Tank. In a six-man tag match, the D'Angelo family of Tony D'Angelo, Luca Crucifino, and Channing Lorenzo take on the Dark State 3. Will take on members of Dark State. As to which members exactly, it's unsure. Somewhere having Cutler James, Dion Lennox, Osiris Griffin, and Saquon Sugars. In a fatal 4-way match for the NXT Women's title, Stephanie Vaquer will be defending against Jordan Grace, former NXT Women's Champion Julia, and Jada Parker. In a triple threat match for the NXT title, Obafemi defends against Trick Williams and Javon Evans. So quite a bit going on at this Saturday Stand and Deliver. Now as we move ahead, of course, as we now look ahead to tonight's Dynamite, as I do know that I believe they're continuing the tonight's Dynamite, of course, day 1 of the Spring Breakthrough Tour, with day 2 being so tonight's Dynamite will be taking place from the MGM Music Hall at Fenway in Boston, Massachusetts, with Excalibur and Tony Schiavone on commentary. So in a non-title Owen Hart Foundation Women's Tournament semifinal match, Ring of Honor Women's World Champion Athena is set to take on TBS champion Mercedes Moné. In a match for the AEW World Tag Team titles, current champions the Hurt Syndicate of Shelton Benjamin and Bobby Lashley will be taking on the Gates of Agony of Bishop Khan and Toa Leona. Adam Page is set to take on a mystery opponent in the men's quarterfinal match of the Owen Hart Foundation. Now, with this being said, of course, the winners of the Owen Hart tournaments, the men's tournament and the women's tournament, will be getting a Okay. So the winners of the tournament will be getting a world title match against their respective. So the men will get a shot at whoever the men's champion is by that time, right now being John Moxley, while the women will be getting a shot at, right now would be appearing to be Tony Storm. Adam Page set in his quarterfinal match, and in a semifinal match for the men's tournament, Konosuke Takeshita will be taking on Will Ospreay. And the main event is set to be for the AEW World Trios title. The Death Riders of Claudio Castagnoli, Wheeler Yuta, and John Moxley, acting as interim champion, filling in for Pac, will be defending the World Trios titles against the Ops of. Well, apparently, I guess Hook is injured because it's said here mystery opponent Katsuyori Shibata and Samoa Joe of the Ops, and then one other person will be, I guess, filling in for Hook, as he's apparently, I guess, out injured after being attacked last week. Basically being opened up a bit. So that's all we got for the wrestling wrap up tonight. Of course, we'll have we'll have the results of tonight for you tomorrow night there, as well as some other stuff. So let's see now. So now what we're going to do, of course, is we're going to for the Owen Hart, the finals will be at Double or Nothing next month on the 25th, I believe, on May 25th. Double or Nothing have the finals is where I believe they'll have the finals of the Owen Hart tournament happening, among other things. But with that being said, so now I guess we'll move on to this day in each history. As let's see. So today being Wednesday, April the 16th, 2025. Let's go ahead and take a look back at this day in each history. So first off, we're going to head back to 1955. And on this date in 1955, 70 years ago today, on this date 70 years ago today, the Warner Brothers Looney Tunes cartoon, directed and animated by Robert McKinson's The Whole Idea, premiered in movie theaters on this date back in 1955. Of course, had character layout and background layout and paint by Richard H. Thomas. A scientist, Professor Calvin Q. Calculus, specifically creates a portable hole invention. Despite disapproval from his wife Gertrude, his creation is celebrated in a newsreel showcasing various uses for a portable hole, rescuing a baby from a safe, creating your own golf game, and giving dogs a new place to bury their bones. Spurred by the film, a thief steals a briefcase. Okay, so basically, idea has the so from the whole idea was the first short Robert McKinson directed following Warner Brothers Cartoon's brief shutdown in 1953. McKinson had begun work on the cartoon early that year, just before his unit was disbanded. 2 months before, The entire studio was closed down that June. While he was able to convince Warner Brothers to bring back his unit after the studio reopened, the lack of needed funds prevented him from retrieving his animators, who were at this point scattered across the industry. Mikestand served as the sole animator for the short, aside from layout and background work by Richard H. Thomas. While producer Edward Seltzer refused to put the short for consideration for an Academy Award, Mikestand has said that his colleagues, Chuck Jones and Fritz Frayling, praised the film. The cartoon would, however, win an award from the University of Wisconsin, as it was the only one that entered the category for best subjects of that year. All right, so that came out in 1950 on this date in 1955. The whole idea from Warner Brothers. So let's see, getting ready to move on to the next. Moving ahead to 1985. So 40 years ago today, on this date in 1985. On this date in 1985, the 280th issue of Volume 1 of Fantastic Four went on sale on this date back in 1985. Sold for 65 cents for 32 pages. The title of the story was "Tell Them All They Love That." Tell them all they love must die. Written and penciled by John L. Byrne, inked by Jerry Ordway. John E. Workman Jr. did the lettering, coloring done by Glynis Wayne. So, featured characters were, of course, the Fantastic Four. So 40 years ago today, the 280th issue of Volume 1 of Fantastic Four went on sale on this date back in 1985. Let's see. Fixed by Jendi Tartakovsky, has been sold to Netflix. Ah, okay, that's interesting. Let's see now. So, all right. So now getting ready to move on to next piece of niche history as we move ahead to the year 2000. As on this year, in the year 2000, following WCW's reorganization and one last gasp to try to save themselves, on this date in 2000, in the year 2000, 25 years ago today, the fifth and final Spring Stampede pay-per-view, Spring Stampede 2000, took place on this date took place on this date in 2000 at the United Center in Chicago. The event was notable due to the creation of a new WCW after Eric Bischoff and Vince Russo rebooted the company by vacating all the championships and refreshed the WCW roster. Many tournaments occurred during the event for the vacated championships. The main event was the tournament final for the vacated WCW World Heavyweight Championship between Diamond Dallas Page and Jeff Jarrett. During the match, Page's wife, Kimberly Page, turned on her husband, allowing Jarrett to win the title. So the undercard featured the tournament to crown the new World Tag Team and WCW United States champions. Shane Douglas and Marcus Alexander Bagwell defeated Ric Flair and Lex Luger to win the vacated World Tag Team Championships. Scott Steiner defeated Sting to win the vacated United States Championship. Chris Candido won a six-way match for the vacant WCW World Cruiserweight Championship. And Terry Funk defeated Norman Smiley in a hardcore match to win the vacant WCW Championship. The events of this event would lead to the beginning of an angle in which the WCW roster was divided into two factions: the New Blood and Millionaires Club. New Blood was the heel group of young wrestlers, and Millionaires Club was the face group of veterans of the industry. So basically, it was one last attempt to try to save WCW before eventually being sold, the following March, 11 months later, to WWE or WWF at the time, I believe. So on this date, back in the year 2000, 25 years ago today, the WCW held its fifth and final Spring Stampede pay-per-view before it would eventually shut its doors. And finally on this date in the year 2005, 20 years ago today, as we will, on this date in the year 2005, 20 years ago today, Toei Animation's Futari wa Pretty Cure Max Heart movie and Shin-Ei Animation's Crayon Shin-Chan the Legend called Buri 3 Minutes Charge. Both premiered in Japanese theaters on this date back in the year 2005, 20 years ago. Of course, the Pretty Cure movie part of the Pretty Cure franchise, and Crayon Shin-Chan part of the Shin-Chan franchise. So on this date, 20 years ago today, in 2005, Toei Animation's Futari wa Pretty Cure Max Heart movie and Shin-Ei Animation's Crayon Shin-Chan the Legend called Buri 3 Minutes Charge both premiered in Japanese theaters on this date back in the year 2005. So with that being said, I thank everybody for being here tonight. Hope everybody enjoyed the show. We'll be back here with more Niche News tomorrow. Hopefully by tomorrow I'll figure it out what we're going to read for Sunday with in terms of covering David McKay and I believe David McKay in Eastern Color, I believe. But if that's not the case, I'll know for sure. Try to get to it tomorrow to get into that. Of course, this Sunday I'll be joined by the Metal from Vomitorium. We'll be taking another trip back through comics history. So with that, I thank everybody for being here tonight, and I hope to see everybody back here tomorrow. Bye.